How do I say thank you in Polish?
Dziękuję.
Dziękuję?
Yes, dziękuję.
Say dziękuję to everybody who's read my books.
Hi guys, I'm so happy to welcome the incredibly talented author, Stuart Gibbs. Hello, Stuart.
Hello, how are you?
It's fantastic to have you here. Stuart is the mastermind behind a very popular in Poland Spy School series. I have a bunch of questions from your readers, so I hope you are ready for this.
Yes, I am. First of all, it's so exciting to have seen the response from Poland, and I love what they've done with the books there, with all the illustrations and everything. So it's a joy to get to talk to you.
Yeah, they are great, and we do love them so much. This series, and of course, Moonbase Alpha. Yeah, but my first question is from me, not from your fans, because I was wondering, how did a biology student ended up writing children's books? How did it happen?
Well, I always loved writing. That was always my big love, and I was writing books when I was the age of my readers. I was always trying to write stories and get something published. I did not get anything published, so when I got to college, I thought, well, maybe I should study something else, and that led me to studying biology. But that actually ended up inspiring. I have another series that's called the Fun Jungle series. It has not been printed in Poland yet, but that was very much inspired by my studies. I worked at a zoo. I studied capybaras at the zoo, and so I saw how a zoo worked behind the scenes. That whole series was inspired by that research. It was my second love, and I decided that I did not want to be a biologist. I wanted to be a writer of some sort. So I actually, because I hadn't gotten any books published, I came out to Hollywood and I tried writing screenplays, and I managed to sell some movie ideas. And so I worked as a screenwriter in the film and television business for quite a few years until I decided to give writing books a shot again. And I was really, up until that point, thinking I would write for adults, but I talked to an agent. My dog just walked into the room. Yes, he likes to show up for meetings. And he's saying hi to everybody in Poland.
Hi.
All right.
Hi, doggy. What's his name or her?
What is his name? His name is Ripley, actually. So
no way.
Okay. He's named after my character, and so the character came first, and then he came along. So I decided to give writing books a shot, and it was a book agent who suggested maybe I should think about writing for middle grade. And I thought that was a pretty exciting idea. So my son was 2 years old at the time. My wife was pregnant with my daughter, and so I decided that I would try to do that. And so it worked out pretty well, I guess.
Definitely did. Yeah. Did you said something about capybaras, that you are an expert in that matter?
I studied them, and I was it seems like I was the first person from the United States to study them. So I'm not sure. Obviously, people who lived down in the rainforest, South America, knew about them, but I was a student, and they had just gotten capybaras at the zoo. They were pretty rare to have at a zoo at the time, and I said, I want to study these animals, and so I was making discoveries that my professor, he said, well, it doesn't look like anybody else has noticed this yet, at least in the English speaking world. So
Wow.
I have to shut my door because the dog knocked my door open.
Okay. The Spy School series and your other books are for teenagers. And I'm wondering, what kind of teenager were you? I mean, were you similar to Ben or maybe some other character from your books? Were you shy? Were you, I don't know, brave? I can't wait to hear something more about this.
I wish I was as brave as Ben in the books. I think when I write Ben, I'm trying to make him feel like maybe a lot of my readers. I want him to be somebody they relate to, because the thought was that if you took any normal person and dropped them into a James Bond movie or a Mission Impossible movie, nobody would be able to do everything those people do, right? It's so you could be really smart and really competent, but still be completely out of your depth in a spy movie. And so Ben is, especially in the first books, is constantly kind of reacting to the idea that everything he's being asked to do is just absolutely extraordinary, and that it's very daunting to him. And so I would think, like, yes, if I was dropped into those situations, I would be scared. I wouldn't know how to work a grappling hook. I wouldn't know how to defeat any bad guys in a fight or anything like that. And so Ben wants to do the right thing, but he's understandably kind of daunted by everything that comes his way.
But if you could choose as a teenager, I mean, one of Spy School character as your friend, best friend, who would it be?
Oh man, I think that Zoe. Zoe in the Spy School, like when we first meet her, is kind of the best. I mean, Mike in the series is actually based upon really kind of one of my best friends from growing up, who was very. He was much cooler than I was, and I was always like, "Why does this guy want to hang out with me?" But he was a great guy, and he's really fun and did sort of think outside the box like Mike. And Mike is a really, really loyal friend, always going to stick by Ben's side no matter what. So he's good. Zoe has a lot of those qualities as well, and she's also she might not be as strong a spy as Erica, but she's really talented.
So these two, right? From what you say, I feel like Spy School series and your other books are capturing the excitement of being a teenager, but you also show some pretty cool adults in Spy School series. Was it intentional to show that even though they are maybe not perfect, because this whole school is not perfect, but we can still learn something from them? I'm asking as a mom of 15 years old daughter.
Yes, absolutely. I have kids, and my daughter just turned 16, so we're in the same boat there.
Okay, we are in the same page.
Yes. But I had a good relationship with my parents. I thought that lots of books showed, the parents were the kids were orphans, or they lost a parent or something, and I thought, I wanted my characters to have good relationships with their parents. That comes up a lot in the Moonbase Alpha series, and I realized Ben's parents aren't around a lot at first in the Spy School series, but I still wanted him to be from like a really solid family, and you get to meet a lot of Erica's family as that series goes on. And I think there's a lot to learn from adults, and you want to be able to go to an adult and say, like, I've got a problem, or I wanted my characters to be able to go to their parents and talk to their parents, and not just necessarily sneak around behind their backs all the time.
Okay, so thank you for that. I have a next question, and this is a question from Adam, one of your fans, big fans. And was it your goal to make sure that the adventures were equally exciting for boys and girls? Because I feel they are because of Erica's character, and of course you write as a boy, as a Ben, but it's fun to read for boys and girls. Was it intentional?
Absolutely, yes, yes. I would say that when I first was hired to start writing these books, the thought was that I really needed to try and write stuff that would appeal to boys, because the publishers thought, well, boys need a little bit of an extra boost to get them into reading.
Yeah,
Need
true.
to have characters that relate to it. So, girls are amazing. Girls, they like a boy might not be as eager to read a book about a girl, but with a girl as the main character. Girls don't care; they'll read anything, and that's why girls are awesome. And but I wanted to, I mean, I have a son and a daughter. I knew I have plenty of women in my life who I think are really amazing. I know that these days, if you were to go to the CIA, you would see just as many women working there as men. So it was really important to me to say, oh, there's just as many girls in the class as boys, and they're and with Erica, even to say like, oh, the best student is actually a girl, and that was on one hand to have appeal to boys and girls, but it was also to say to the boys like, hey, look, it's not always the guys who are the most competent, and and just to have that's the world they're going to grow up in here now. It's women are doing everything that men do in most countries. The U.S. could have a woman president.
Yes,
Very
yes.
soon, very soon. So so finally, right? So it was very, very important to me to write books that would appeal to both boys and girls.
I feel that this series is very inclusive, and this is the best. Yeah. So the next question is from Ola. Can you walk us through your process of gathering research materials for your books? Because I imagine that this is not something easy to do, especially when we talk about Spy School series. Taking action in London, for example, or in many other places. So is it hard to gather materials to these books?
Well, I think I like doing the research.
Okay.
As I was doing research when I was in college as a biologist. So I think that there's fun to it. One of the most fun things is to get to talk to experts about things, and because people generally love to talk about what they do, and there's people who do a lot of really fascinating things. Now for the Spy School series, I would have loved it if I could have gotten into the CIA right off the bat, and I could not really do that. I have since been able to visit the CIA and talk to people, and I've actually sort of said, I'm sorry if I made you guys look bad, and they're like, actually, sometimes you're closer than you realize. There if I couldn't get in there though, there were still ways to learn how the CIA operated, find out what the CIA headquarters might look like, and then there are other places. I really sometimes I've been there and I could draw on my experiences there. Sometimes I wanted to go visit a place because I knew it would be inspiring. You were talking about Spy School, Secret Service. I really wanted to try and get into the White House, and I was calling anybody I knew in Washington, and I got people who'd been in the White House. I couldn't actually get into the West Wing right in time to write the book, and so I was asking people what it was like. One person said, "Oh, actually, what's really fascinating is the Pentagon. You should anybody can get. You have to apply, but so I went to the Pentagon, and that I was like, he was right, and that ended up having a whole scene in the book because I was ultimately able to get into the White House too, and I found out that maybe the West Wing wasn't exactly as I had hoped it, thought it was in the book, but in going to these places, you get very inspired. And as you held up Spy School, British Invasion, that really came from a family vacation, and my kids were at the time just the perfect age of my readers, and I said, like, we're going to go on this vacation, and we're going to come up with ideas for a book. And so we would go different places, and my kids would look at me and say, "Oh, well, there could be an action sequence here and here and here." And usually, I'm doing that on my own, sort of walking around. So it was so much fun to get to do that with my own children, and have them. So like, there's an action sequence on the Eiffel Tower that we spent like several hours on the Eiffel Tower. Working out the whole thing and saying like, oh, they could go here and this and this and this. So yeah, that was a tremendous amount of fun.
I love this part. The next question is, what is the most surprising or unusual thing you've learned or experienced preparing for your stories?
Getting the Pentagon. Well, the Pentagon is kind of surprising because they do give tours of the Pentagon. It's and one of the fascinating things about the Pentagon is it's the biggest office building in the world, and so they it's very hard to leave and go, and so when people come there, they're kind of there for the day, and so they even on the tour sort of make jokes about the fact that the Pentagon has plenty of fast food in the Pentagon, right? Like if you, I don't know if it's a McDonald's or Burger King or what, but they're sort of like, oh, if you would think that the Army would be like, don't eat this, but they're like, no, we got that. And the CIA has got fast food too, right? Here's a fun thing about the CIA is you can't use your credit card at the CIA because they know that because the credit card companies will ping where the credit card happens, and if somebody is pinging their credit card all the time, enemies could say, "Oh, that person must work at the CIA because they're at the CIA all the time." Okay. So you have to pay cash for everything at the CIA except at the gift shop, and the gift shop. There's quite a nice gift shop at the CIA, and that gift shop does a heck of a lot of business because everybody who shows up there wants to buy all kinds of CIA gift shop stuff. So
I can only imagine. I didn't know there is a gift shop in a CIA. Yes. That's a brilliant idea.
Yes. It didn't like you thought like, oh man, does that make sense? And then I bought so much stuff in the gift shop at the CIA. Yeah.
I love that story. And I also love how readers can pick up any of these books. And it's basically a complete adventure. From the beginning till the end, it's a one adventure. So we can jump right into the action. Even though we didn't read maybe first, second and third book. Did you want to?
Yeah, I did because I know it's some, especially if it, maybe not everybody can afford to buy all the books. They got to get them from the library or something like that. And so, if you say you have to read them in order, sometimes that's tricky for kids to be able to do. So the thought was that even though there's a bit of a through line in the stories and the characters are changing a bit, I didn't want it to be like if you hadn't read book one, you wouldn't be able to read book two or even book 6 or 7. That you should be able to pick up anything and I'll get you up to speed and teach you who everybody is right off the bat. So that's the idea, is that you can read the books in whatever order you want. It maybe it's the tiniest bit more fun to start at the first one, but you don't have to.
You don't have to. Okay. Can you tell us what is your favorite character in Spy School Revolution? Because this is the latest one in Poland. So I'm wondering if you have your favorite character, because we have a brand new villain in this book, and but we also have good old friends. So do you have your favorites or no?
It's hard to ever get, but I do like Erica a lot. She's in she kind of ends up in a different situation in this book. Yeah. There's questions about Erica. When I set out to write her, I wanted to write this really kind of amazing female character who is also like just thought differently than lots of other people, and so it's really fun to sort of write Erica and how she sees the world and is often 1 or 2 or 5 steps ahead of everybody else. But I'll tell you, this is how Revolution came about. Ties into the one character. He was not really in the book, but it's sort of their presence is there, which is George Washington,
Yep.
who was very famous in the United States for being the general in the Revolution who helped defeat the British, and then our first president. But the whole book came about because, again, I was with the idea of research. I was in the Washington D.C. area doing some school visits and book tour and that sort of thing, and I was relatively close to Mount Vernon, which was George Washington's estate. I was thinking about going there, and I checked my email, and I see that I've got an email from somebody there who says, "I just realized you're in town. We would love to have you visit." So I go over, and they bring me in, and they say, like, "We'll give you a tour of George Washington's house and estate, but here's what we want you to think about. We know George Washington was this great general, and he was a great president, but he was also the first spy master of the United States." And
Wow.
I was like, "What?" And he really ran these spy networks really when he was the general, and so they started giving me all this information, and I was reading up on it, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, George Washington was he was a great spy master." You don't really meet him in the book, but you get to hear a bit about what he was doing, and they were doing some stuff during the Revolution. There was a lot of deception. They used a secret code that I actually use in Spy School Revolution. So that's an actual code that was used by Washington spies, and so it's really it was kind of fun to learn about him, and then try and work him into the story in ways so you could kind of learn a little bit about him as well.
That's incredible. That's fascinating. The next question is about the James Bond movies, because correct me if I'm wrong, I remember that you mentioned somewhere that you love James Bond's movies, and yes. Especially Casino Royale is your favorite.
Yes. I first of all say, because I first saw James Bond movies when I was a kid, I thought he blew me away as a character. He was so cool and suave, and he was he was always wearing a suit and looked great, and having all these he could defeat anybody.
But who's your favorite James Bond?
But that's the thing. I do like Daniel Craig the best. Okay. I think when I started to write this series, I went back and watched some of those movies I loved, and they hadn't aged that well. And there's some that have aged okay. There's actually quite a lot of James Bond movies that have not aged well at all. And even when I was a kid, I recognized that there were some kind of funny things about James Bond that even though he looked cool in the suit, really could you actually? Why would he be wearing the suit all the time? That didn't seem. He always says who he is. Seems like he makes a lot of mistakes. And I think one of the neat things about Casino Royale is that you actually get why James Bond is doing everything he does. I don't think he makes a bad move, and he actually he does make some mistakes because the bad guys are pretty crafty, but you get why James Bond is doing everything he's doing, and it also that one has the first action sequence in that movie is probably the best James Bond action sequence there is. There's been a lot of great ones, but that one is one I can watch that sequence over and over and over again because it's so brilliant. And it's an interesting sequence too because it also sets up his character in a way, there's scenes where the bad guy will do this amazing parkour and James Bond cannot do the parkour, so he just figures out a way to do get to the same place the bad guy did very cleverly, and so he's not it's not like he can't do every single thing in the world, but he's smart. He's being smart through the whole sequence. So I don't know. And so there was part of James Bond as a kid that I was like, oh my gosh, that's what I want to be when I grow up. I want to be that cool and
in that suit.
Yes. And then as you get older, you're gonna go, okay, nobody can do that. It'd be great if I could, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to pull that off.
Okay, so do you like Mission Impossible movies?
I do, yes. In fact, I would go so far as to say at this point that the Mission Impossible movies have a better track record of being good than the James Bond movies. I would say that the original Mission Impossible in the from the 90s is kind of surprisingly outdated already, but still is a good one. The second one is the worst one of those series, but all of them have their pluses, and I actually think 4, 5, and 6 are 3 of like the best action movies ever made.
Okay, so if you could turn one of your Spy School series book into a movie, which one would you choose?
Oh,
remember that we only know we don't know all of them in Poland.
Yeah. I know. We got. I want to start with number 1. If it happens, I think it makes sense. I do think it makes sense to go in order, just in the books. But I'll also admit that the first one's probably the cheapest one to turn into a movie. Which has that matters in Hollywood. So I think the first one would be the way to go.
And I have a question from Ella. If you were to write a book about a politician, who would it be? And it cannot be George Washington. Pick someone else.
A politician. Yeah, it's hard to say now. I mean, gosh, everything's so polarized with everything. My actual favorite president is Teddy Roosevelt. My hero in the Fun Jungle series is named after Teddy Roosevelt because Teddy Roosevelt, like he like had a ranch out in North Dakota. He was like a rancher, but then he was also the police commissioner in like 2 years later in New York City, and he created the national park system in the United States. He was a wild character. He really, at one point, somebody tried to assassinate him, and his speech was in his pocket, and the speech stopped him from being killed, and he just went on and gave the speech. He pulled the speech out and was like, "Look, somebody tried to shoot me," and then he gave his speech. He didn't go to the hospital or anything. I realized that is a person from history again, because these days. Man, it'd be if I were to pick somebody who, I say, oh, I like this person, and people go, oh, I don't like that person.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know. Barack Obama was so cool. He was like the cool president, right? He had so much fun in the White House and everything. So I think all the presidents, he'd be fun to hang out. And I've heard actually George W. Bush actually. I know some people who are friends with him, and he does seem like a fun guy. I think there have been Clinton, Bush, Obama were some sort of fun presidents to hang out with. And I will also say I did know Joe Biden's son, Bo, when I was in college. I went to college with Joe Biden's son, and Bo Biden was like a great guy. He was really one of the best. It was a real shame when he passed away very, very early. So. So he was good, and Joe Biden would come. I didn't ever meet him, but he would come to my college because his kid went to college there. He was just a senator, right? So.
Oh wow, that's so awesome! Yeah. So we have a list of politicians.
Yes, there's a lot of good ones. Yeah.
It's a great list. Okay, now I have a question from Kasia, and actually it's about your other series that we know in Poland, Moonbase Alpha. So if you could give us a new invention, people, humanity, to fix something in the world today, what would you choose? What would it be?
Oh man, I mean, like the invention I want is teleporting. Oh man, that would just make life so easy. But I think what we need, we need some kind of thing to reverse climate change, right? We need to get our solar. Maybe we need some big solar panels up in satellites beaming energy down, or ways to burn like cold fusion, something that like we like to generate energy cheaply and efficiently would be. I think we need that as fast as we can get it.
Mm-hmm. This is a great invention. So if we are talking about these books, this series, I was wondering, what are your thoughts about life beyond Earth?
I think it has to exist because, I think one of the big scientific discoveries of the last 20 years has been that there are far more planets than we imagine. That every time we aim a telescope at a star, we see that there are planets around it. So at this point, there are more stars than grains of sand on the Earth. Each one of those has got planets. There's got to be life out there. The problem is that it's so far away, right?
Yeah.
And that's the issue, right? That would be another nice thing to have, is like it's not even light speed travel. We have to go faster than light speed travel. We need Star Wars warp technology. That's what we need to get places. So it's got to be there. It's just whether or not we'll ever encounter it. But I think there's even a chance that there's some kind of like microscopic life on Mars, or we're going to send some probes up to the moons of Jupiter soon. And I think even just finding out that it's there will be one of the greatest human discoveries of all time. Just realizing that there can be life other places.
Yeah, it would be great. Yeah. So the next question is, which book in the Spy School series gave you the most trouble while writing?
Probably the first. Well, the first one, I had that idea a long time, and I really thought about had the idea saying, "Oh, it'd be cool to go to Spy School" when I was a kid and saw that first James Bond movie. So I spent years kind of playing around with like what was the best way to tell that story, and so it was a long process. I'm thrilled that it even got a second book, let alone all the other. In America, the 12th book is going to come out at the end of the month. I'm sure Poland's on it. You guys will get it done. But,
we already envy you.
So, but yeah, so now it's nice that I can sort of be doing one book a year. But yeah, that first one was just years and years and years of thought of like, who are my characters and what is the spy school like and what's the plot and yeah, so there's a lot that went into that one.
Okay, thank you. My next question is, what's the most interesting piece of feedback you've received from a young reader? This is a question from a young reader, so it's very interesting. And I'm wondering that maybe someone said something that changed your thoughts about a character or maybe plot or action. Was there something like this?
That's an interesting question. It's very hard for me to take ideas from readers because I'm thinking several books ahead, and they've read one and they're saying, "Oh, this should happen in the next book," and I think like, "Oh, that can't happen."
Okay, that's done.
Yeah, or they want to see things, but like I can sometimes see the sort of the critical mass, like everybody. So I was very surprised when I wrote the first book how much kids really wanted a relationship between Ben and Erica, and then maybe Ben and Zoe, and so that really surprised me. I was like, I'm writing for kids, and like, how much are they going to care about this sort of thing? And they really did care about it. And so I thought, okay, I have to address this. And so when that becomes a part of the story, that wasn't necessarily one kid. That was like a lot of kids saying like, okay, this is important. We want to see where this goes.
So you had to listen to them. Okay. And which character from the Spy School series went through the biggest transformation? Was it Ben, or maybe Erica, or maybe someone else?
I like to think that Ben and Erica are both going through transformation.
Yeah.
So Erica is making Ben a better spy, but Ben is really making Erica a better person. And so they're both growing thanks to each other and thanks to all the friends that they've got around them.
Okay. What did you read as a kid?
Oh man, I was a kid. I read like everything I could get my hands on. So I read everything in the library. I have a book that I love to talk about. I don't know if you have it. It's called The Westing Game by a writer named Ellen Raskin, and that was a book I read in like 4th grade, and it's just a wonderful mystery, and it just it blew my mind how many times I was surprised by twists in that book, so I really thought like, oh, this is the kind of thing I'm going to write, like with twists and surprising the mysteries and you keep fooling the audience. And I will go back and reread that book quite often because I can still learn from how it was done. A series here called the Encyclopedia Brown series, and those are these short mysteries where you get to the end and it would kind of stop and give you a chance to see if you could solve it and see if you would kind of match wits. And Encyclopedia always solved things because he knew a fact. And I learned so much from that book series about the triskaidekaphobia is the fear of the number 13, and that if you walk in on a cold day, your eyeglasses will fog up and when you go into a hot room, and that if you put a nail into a tree and the tree keeps growing, the nail stays at the same height. It doesn't go up with the tree. There are all these things that he used to solve crimes, and I thought that was so amazing. I love that. I still, to this day, if I write a book, I still like putting facts in the book. I still like having my characters learn stuff, and then my readers learn stuff too. So even something that's kind of as possibly goofy as the spy school books, they can still learn some kind of interesting stuff about the world as they go. And the Moonbase Alpha series has a lot of facts in it. Really facts straight. Yeah.
Are there any of characters in your books based on your own children?
Can you tell us that? Yes. In the Moonbase Alpha series, the main characters are based. Yeah, the two children, Dashiell and Violet, are based on my own two children. They're a different gap in their ages in the book. So when I wrote, my son was not quite that age, and I was sort of guessing what he would be like as he got older. The character Violet is my daughter when she was that age. I said it's the one character I didn't really write. I just looked at my daughter and thought, like, what is she doing right now? And the character of Kira in that book is based on my niece. So. Yes. So it's not exactly them, but it's pretty. I mean, they're based pretty closely on my kids. And if very sharp-eyed readers reading the very first Spy School can see my children make a cameo. They make a cameo in that book. It's very quick, but it's in there. So.
Okay. This is pretty cool for your children, I have to say. Do they like to be in your books?
When they were little, that was very exciting to them. Then as they got older, I think they were like, "Hey, what did you do?" And but I think then it kind of got maybe a little cool again as that went on. So yeah.
Okay. So the last one is not a question, but it's a challenge for you. Okay. I don't know if you would like to try to speak Polish and say the title of your series, Spy School. Would you like to try?
Yeah. Are you going to help me?
Of course, I'm going to help you. Have you ever been to Poland?
No, and I'm trying. The publisher really wants me to come. I would love to visit. Trying to figure out like how it would work. Of course, my kids are like, "Yeah, we got to go." I know. I apologize. I'm sorry I haven't been to Poland yet. I'm gonna make it. I promise.
Okay. We will be waiting for you.
Okay.
And so, are you ready to try?
Yes.
Okay. In Polish, it sounds like szkoła szpiegów. Szkoła means school. And szpiegów means szkoła.
Szkoła? Does that sound right?
Yeah, szkoła. Szpiegów.
Szpiegos.
And now together. Szkoła szpiegów.
Szkoła szpiegów.
Great. I'm impressed. You speak Polish very, very well. Yeah. Szkoła szpiegów is our favorite series in Poland. So this is it. I don't have any more questions from your fans. Thank you so much for speaking Polish, for all those insights. It was very, very interesting. And I hope we will have a chance to talk pretty soon.
How do I say thank you in Polish?
Dziękuję.
Dziękuję?
Yes, dziękuję.
Say dziękuję to everybody who's read my books. Dziękuję to you for this. And I really hope that we can make something work and I can come visit. I know it's a beautiful country. I know there's probably a lot of great places for action sequences.
Yep.
So I gotta.
We have a dragon. We have dwarves. We have everything. You have to come.
I know. I gotta make it work. So I'm working on it. I promise.
Okay. So dziękuję, Stuart.
Dziękuję. Bye.